I suppose an apology present from Ribbon, who was harassing us at camp this morning. But her two little darling cubs, well, they're just fighting over who is going to suckle. And it is very, very entertaining. And it's actually quite a difficult spot over here, because there's not much of a gap to sort of see these little cubs. We'll stick in this spot for just a little bit, and then we might try and reposition around and see if we can get a gap through some of these trees and look at Ribbon sort of from the front on. But when we arrived, the little cubs were up, but it might have been because they heard us coming. Remember, they're still getting used to vehicles, so we keep our distance from them when we limit it to one vehicle moving around this den at a time. And you can see they're not reacting to the sound of our voices anymore. I don't have to whisper like we did when we first came in here. They're very much accustomed to the sound of our voice now, which is fantastic. That's one small part done, and we can give that a tick in the habituation process of these little cubs. And then eventually they'll get used to the sound of us starting the vehicle up. And I cannot wait for the day that they decide to come over and have a look and investigate around the vehicles, because that is probably one of the most amazing things that you can experience out here on safari. And there are many amazing things, but to be sitting at a hyena den and having little hyenas come all around your vehicle to see what you are, and Mom sort of lets them and do that on their own, but I think they're a bit too young still to be venturing around. They might in the next few weeks or so get a bit braver, and they'll come right up and they'll smell the tires. They'll probably come up and try and smell my feet. They will be so curious, and I hope that they don't move far. I hope they decide that this is a very good den. And yes, this is pretty amazing, the fact that they're so relaxed only after, well, a week of really seeing them. Isn't this great? It's a lovely den. Okay, let's see if we can reposition. Let's try this out. Now, it is important that we do move around a little bit, but you also need to sit for periods of time. But you'll see when I start the engine, they are going to sit up. Oh, wow. They didn't even move this time. That's exciting. Normally they jump up and they look at you. They just pop their ears up. But that's exciting. They haven't even moved an inch. Obviously, they're very tired. As I went over a few little shrubs, they lifted their heads, but they didn't do much. Okay, now they've gone inside the den again. We'll just creep around here, and we're very, very far away from them. Oh, they get excited. They're actually squealing. Now, I know that there should be a little gap around here. Craig, I think if you can angle your camera that way for me so I can line us up nicely, because I don't know. It's such a small gap. You'll see now. There we go. Look at that. How cool is that? This is my favorite gap, except Ribbon's head is still hidden, but at least you've got a nice clear view now of these little cubs. And you'll see they'll get rough with each other, even at this age. You can see now, fighting for the best spot, not afraid to sit on top of each other like we see the lion cubs and leopard cubs doing too. I think hyena cubs are a little bit more rough though, and you would have seen it with Jamie the one morning that she spent quite some time with them, is that they'll tug each other around. They'll pull each other by their ears, by their tails, by a paw, by the scruff of the neck. Absolutely no worries, and drag each other around. And that's why you often see those patches of skin, those bald spots on the hyena cubs. It's not that it's mange. I reckon that it's just from pulling the fur out of this, out of each other. Which is, well, a pity, but I suppose that's how it goes. They are very tough animals, hyenas. KL Swift, you've asked, at what age do you no longer see siblicide in hyenas? That's a good question. You know, I've actually never seen another hyena, well, two hyenas fighting to the death almost, and of course, like he's just said, you can see it around the cubs. I've never seen that. I've just read about it. Ooh, so it's a difficult one for me to answer, because I would say once they get to about 6 months, I would say they're big enough now to sort of fend for themselves, unless they would get ganged up on, which also there's a possibility. It might happen later on, but I reckon by the time that they get to about 6 months, they should be okay. And then after that, because they just start doubling in size, they grow so quickly. What you'll see in the next few months, these hyenas are going to double and triple in size before your eyes. And it's always one of the most wonderful things. They go from being these tiny little black little balls of fluff to, of course, well, quite big, and then their spots start to develop too. But at the moment, you can see bellies are nice and full. So is Ribbon, so she obviously got a good meal last night, and enough to produce a bit of milk for these little ones. Hello. And Ribbon is also fast asleep. She must be exhausted. Megan, another great question from you. Do I know how much fat hyena milk contains? I don't, but I can imagine it must be an exceptional amount. Lots of proteins, lots of fat inside of that milk, especially with what hyenas are feeding on. You know, they go after bone marrow. It's one of their favorite things to feast upon. That's why they've got those strong, powerful jaws, is to crush through various animal skeletons to get that bone marrow. So I can only imagine, and bone marrow is a very good source of fat and protein, so it must be extremely rich. And I wonder if it's maybe not even more rich than something like a lion and leopard's milk that aren't getting those very, very fatty substances. They do, I suppose, when they're feeding on young animals, they're able to crush through the bones, but of course we know the hyenas specialize in this. And I'm excited. We won't stay here for too long. I don't think we need to bother her for too much. It's nice just to come and have a look, especially that these little ones are sleeping. Every time I keep starting and stopping the engine, I do bother them just a little bit, just until they get used to us. But I can't believe over the last couple of days, just already their improvement. So we'll hang around for a bit. And if they start to get active, that's fantastic. That's great. Then we'll definitely stick around for a little bit longer. But for the moment, it's important that this is a delicate process, of course, the habituation process. So we need to make sure that we are respectful to them and we don't intrude too much. Isn't this cool, though? Tim, you're wondering, when do they do their laughing call? It's the most amazing thing, Tim. It's probably one of my favorite sounds out here in Africa. And I have to say, it's normally when they get very excited or if they're nervous. So like you often see it, I've seen it, or I've heard it quite often when hyenas are coming in to scavenge or for big kills. So if a hippo or something has died, I've heard that many a times. They come running in, lots of whooping to announce, and then of course that little giggle that they let off. And then especially if they're being chased around, it's sort of it's a nervous laugh, I suppose you could call it. So they'll do that then too. But their whole body posture when they do that little cackle is really, really funny. How they sort of tuck their tails between their legs, and it almost seems like their back feet can't keep up with their front feet, and they sort of run away with their tails between their legs, like I said, and then they let off that laughter. It's really amazing. I haven't heard it since we've been here yet. But like I said, it's not a very common sound to hear. You normally see it when you're having interactions with other hyenas. So one hyena on its own, unless it's being chased maybe by a lion or a wild dog or something along those lines, you might hear it. Otherwise, they're fairly quiet animals. They don't make too much noise. The most common sound you hear is that whooping that they absolutely love to do. But none of that's happening at the moment. They're fast asleep, fast asleep. Hey guys, this is lovely. This is really, really beautiful. And even Ribbon, she looks exhausted now, and I don't blame her. Oh, sorry, Louise, can you please say that again? I just touched the connection and I lost you for a moment. Miss Sky, hello. Welcome, thank you for watching. We were wondering if leopards would go after these hyena cubs. No, I don't think so. I think a leopard is, because it's on par with a hyena. However, I wouldn't want to take on an angry hyena mom. I think that would be very, very brave. And I think a leopard would just keep away. There's no need for it. A leopard will definitely kill other leopard cubs, and I'm sure if it stumbled across a lion den, or if these hyena cubs, I suppose, were left unattended. But I don't think it would intentionally go out searching for hyena cubs at all. If it came past here, I'm sure it would pick up that there was a lot of hyena activity around here, and that might even just deter it and put it off. But I think what we're going to do, let's have one last look at these hyena cubs. They don't seem to be doing too much. They seem just to be relaxing and just enjoying themselves. Well, let's see. Maybe they're going to play a little bit for us. But like I said, I don't want to stay here for too long. I just want to enjoy it just until they get used to us. you can still see that they are very, very tiny. Hello, guys. And I know that there are a couple of guides who are coming in from the far east who are slowly making their way to the hyena den too. Like I said, we can use one vehicle here. But let's stick with them while they're up and moving around. Hello, little one. Oh, there we go, giving some love. And it will be interesting to see as they grow as well, the hierarchy between the two. And so if they're little girls, it's going to be really quite wonderful to see the two of them play about. And well, it'd actually be even better if one of them was a little boy, because you definitely see the sister dominating and tugging the brother around. That's always one of my favorite things. And look at those tiny little paws. Still clean. The pads look so nice and soft underneath their feet, especially when that little one lifts it up. Look there. Oh, they're so tiny. They are such lovely creatures. And then you look at mom's feet and you can see that they're well worn. Look at those nails, dirty from digging. But of course, hyenas are just not the cleanest of clean creatures. Come on, little ones, are you going to play? Are you going to go to sleep? What's your plan? Hello, little one. Well, that's my favorite one, the one that's sitting on top of mom. Is because at least she's getting a little bit active. Obviously got a bit of an energy spurt from suckling this morning. Now, Molly, you were wondering, when will Ribbon wean these cubs? They've still got a long while to go. At about 6 months or so, they should stop suckling. They won't be suckling as often, maybe even a little bit later than that. But it should be around then. Hi, little one. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? They are just the most adorable creatures. The wrinkly little heads. I'm just going to nibble on mom's feet now. And they are such tough creatures even from this young. They fall over, they get back up, they dust their souls off as if nothing was wrong. But they don't seem to be in the playful, cheery mood like they normally would be. But I think Ribbon also got back late this morning. Like I said, just before we started drive, Ribbon was in camp. So she was really pushing the limits. Normally they're back in their dens at that time, just at first light. Look how curious this little one is, looking up, looking around, learning about its surrounding. Now back to sleep. I suppose it's a little bit like me. So it seems as though sleeping seems to be the common denominator at the moment. I think we might stick around here just for a couple more minutes, especially seeing as that little one is waking up a bit. But I'm going to send you across to Jamie now with the leopards who are having a royal nap.